This is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins. With all the focus on the revival of Chorus Line, we thought we'd talk to the woman who was at the heart of the original production. She was the heart of the original production, and here to introduce her is my co-host, the heart of Theater Talk, Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
Your sincerity is touching, Susan. Thank you very much. Donna McKechnie is one of the great Broadway performers. She created the role of Cassie in the original production of A Chorus Line. She has written a wonderful and touching memoir called Time Steps. And I'm very happy that Donna McKechnie is here with us tonight on Theater Talk.
Well, I'm thrilled, and thank you for the wonderful compliment. That's quite an honor at the heart.
Welcome, welcome. I want to ask you something that has just been in the news lately, front page New York Times story about some of the original cast members complaining that they're not getting any royalties from this revival of A Chorus Line. And it was a detailed story saying that Michael Bennett all gave you, I think, 1% of his share of A Chorus Line.
Well, something like that. It wasn't detailed enough. But
right. What is your feeling about this, and do you feel that you're all owed something from this revival?
Well, gosh, you know, I read that in the Times, and it just made me want to ask a couple questions. I think it's kind of a non-story, really, at this point, because it's just material to, you know, question. Mm-hmm. I really have no answer. I don't know if there's any change in the structure of our percentage of a point, a writer's point. I mean, you know, going way back when you tell someone after all the great success, it's played all over the world, all these millions of dollars, that you signed away your life for $1, right. You know, people...
Oh, you found after. You found out after.
Well, no, you signed for $1
yeah,
when
and
you're
you knew
in
that,
workshop, right?
But you have no idea it's going to become what it becomes.
And neither did Michael, and it was everyone's risk, and okay, it was a 10-minute break, and we didn't have a lawyer, okay. But, but when Michael Bennett is writing a show for you, in my case, you know, I knew Michael for many years as friends, as co-workers, and you know, I said, where do I sign? You know, that, you know, you go right to the, it wasn't about that for me. Sure. I think that it was, nobody asked him to give a percentage of, or a percentage of a point and delineate it in 3 categories to people who were in the workshop and performed as well, and people who just did the workshop, and then the...
It was a complicated structure.
Yeah, I mean, no one, I don't remember any one of us going to him and saying, don't you think we are owed? Nobody did, and he was, you know, initiated that. So all these years later, of course you can go back and go,
what was I thinking?
But you know, along the way, I mean, that's our business, isn't it?
Sort of the heart of this book is there are no guarantees in this business
right,
at
and
all.
Save your money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. The lesson of your book.
Putting aside all these issues.
Which is what Bob Fosse said on the day that he died to us all. He said, save your money. In
Sweet Charity in Washington.
Yes, I mean, you know, we were expecting a director's, you know, because we're opening that night at the National Theater in Washington, D.C., and he, instead of telling us about, I want this scene to be, I want you to not worry and go out there, and he said, wake up every morning and say to yourself, not just if I can be a better performer, but if I can be a better person, then do it, and save your money. And I went, boy, this is a different kind of note session.
How interesting.
So he knew something was happening, but yes, yeah, you have. It's the most insecure business. I mean, what is worse, boxing and prostitution? Someone told me once. In rejection every day, and you just have to. But you know what? I could be cute about it and say I like the hours, like everybody else does. But I really, you know, think that it's something that you come to terms with yourself about your choices, about what you love to do. And you have to keep creating the demand and keep, because it's not there. Nobody is there saying, you're so good here, let's write a show for you.
Right.
But then they happened to me once.
Michael Bennett came along and did.
Right.
If you can just take us back, though, to that those very early days of A Chorus Line. What's the first time Michael approached you? What did he say to you when he had this idea?
Well, I knew that he was frustrated with his own career. He had very gone from, you know, choreographing, I think, Joyful Noise to company was a very important step for him. And then with those wonderful people, Harold Prince and Stephen Sondheim, then to do Follies, to co-direct. He was kind of playing it, you know, each step he was finding his strength and his courage and his knowledge. And so all along this was many years, and initially for a show for dancers came about when there was a book or a play. Leonard Gersh, he optioned him to do pin-ups,
Right.
a story about a backstage. And then it went just talking about it, and then not until Seesaw did this all kind of...
Which he came into Doctor, didn't he come into Seesaw to help out
Yes,
with
and
the show?
that's when he realized that he needed his own. He was ready to...
Right.
He didn't want a doctor anymore after
Right.
that.
Right. And he just said, you know, Donna, I want to talk to you about your life. Sit down, come, and I'll...
No. He kept saying, I got to get a show for you. And I said, get one for yourself first, because I'll be fine. If you get a show, I'll be fine. It was that kind of friendly chat. And not until we sat down and he invited a group of dancers to talk about what it means to be a dancer in that setting, after Tony Stevens and Michonne Peacock, as the history tells us, you know, they were thinking of this, and they wanted to make these tapes, and Michael aligned with that, and they were happy that he could take it over, because they had other things, you know, to do, and knew that he would be the best man.
Did
for
it
the
have
job.
a feeling of a group therapy session when you were all
yeah.
sitting together, spilling your guts
And
out
he
to
started
Michael?
it, and he started by...
Did he tell his own personal stories to you?
He set the kind of permission, or set the tone for it, by being very candid and very honest and very revealing, things I never knew about
him.
my
And you'd
friend.
known him for a long time at this point, yeah.
But there's certain things, you know, I almost didn't want to know, too. I went, oh dear, I feel so bad for him.
Now, is there part of him in any one of the characters?
Oh, yes, Cassie.
There's Michael Bennett
Yeah,
in Cassie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A little bit, but you know, I've said before, it was the most fictionalized character because it had to be actually in a kind of a subplot. The event is the audition, and that's what's interesting.
Right.
But this, to give it that dramatic conflict, because there is no story outside of this director who has a pressure of time to get these dancers for this musical, whatever that musical is. We don't know.
We don't know.
It has a great finale.
Is there more of you in Cassie or more of Michael Bennett?
I think it's a combination. It's like James Kirkwood. You know, we were sitting around, and Nicholas Dante were going, well, what if? We played the what if game.
Right.
And what if she, and I went, oh, I can relate to that, because that's me and Ken. We never had that last conversation.
Ken Howard, your boyfriend.
And then Michael said, oh, I have that relationship, too, that I can relate to, and what if, and what if. And the what ifs became the most fictionalized character. Of course, when you tell someone that it's based on the truth, you can't say, no, I never was a dancing Band-Aid. You know? You have to kind of, I got used to it as the albatross around my neck for a while.
Sure.
Now I'm just so grateful for the whole thing. But, you know, yes, it's me. I had to keep saying, but when in truth, I would never go to a chorus audition.
No.
You know,
and also, I think
she's right to do it, because this is not a girl who's going back to the chorus because she loves the chorus. She wants to start over.
Right.
It's about, give me a job, give me a chance.
Right.
And that's the metaphoric, the metaphor that was so far-reaching for people, not even in our business.
Right.
That's the part we never really could see yet about how people would relate to it. So, and they related to Cassie a lot, especially older people, even young dancers who wanted to find this expression in their own life, but were put down by their parents, as I was initially, you know.
Denied the chance to be who you are.
Yeah.
In many ways.
And it's so, yeah.
I thought in the book you captured really well just when the point that you realize that a chorus line is becoming something that nobody expected. I mean, you're down at the Public Theater doing these workshops, sort of getting around town, that Michael Bennett is up to something very interesting. When did you really have a sense that this was not going to be your regular Broadway show?
When I first heard at the ballet. I mean, I had no idea it would be that commercially successful, but I knew it was a work of art. When I heard that song, because it was so beautiful and touching, and Ed was, you know, standing at the piano.
Ed
Marvin,
Cleban, the lyricist.
Ed Cleban. And Marvin, I know they wrote I Can Do That. They wrote in sequence, but I didn't hear that the first one. I heard at the ballet. And I just thought, this is heartbreakingly beautiful and expresses everything that private life of a dancer, it was so beautifully expressed by both of them, that I thought, this is going to be quite a wonderful piece of theater.
Right, right. And then, of course, all of a sudden it explodes down there.
Oh,
right?
and then when you see Groucho Marx sitting on the steps, you know, next to Diana Ross.
I've been told that the steps,
Elizabeth Taylor.
the steps were full of celebrities
Yeah.
night after night at that show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, breaking all the rules of the fire, you know.
Right. And then now, does the classic showbiz thing then happen to you? Suddenly you're all in this smash hit, and you all begin to think, I'm going to become the biggest star of all time?
I don't think so. I wasn't even aware of the Tonys. Everybody was, you know, Tony fever at one point. I was just so glad that we were out of that workshop. I mean, it was a very insular, I call us hothouse tomatoes, you know. We had no idea what was going on, but we got a sense of it. And then it was about having enough energy to do 8 shows a week. And it was very exciting, though. I mean, I didn't go through it with blinders, but I was one of the few that was older and had been through shows and could appreciate what we had.
Because you'd been in big hits.
Yeah, and so I was appreciating what a wonderful thing that Michael did. And for all of us to have contributed like that, I thought, this is, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime. I did appreciate it. Anyway, and when the Tonys came around, I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just so happy.
And you and Michael Bennett subsequently got married.
Oh, yeah.
How did that happen?
Eventually.
But it was within this time frame. I mean, how did that come together?
I honestly, well, he proposed, and
was there a
shocked.
romance of now, because
the people want to know.
Well, I mean, you detail in the book, and you say he comes up to you and says, "This guy is Ken Howard, right? Then is not for you.
Yeah.
I think we should be together." I mean, did you have any? This is a shock to you when he tells you, "I think we should be together."
It was a shock to me, but it also made me feel that I wasn't alone in my feelings. I didn't quite know how to do with the feelings I had for Michael. And,
had you had those feelings for a long time, because you knew each other so long?
I had to push them aside because it was not a. I didn't want to ruin the relationship. Quite frankly, you know, I've seen it happen too much. But I would have done. It's not to say that I just sacrificed myself. I was in love with Michael, and it took him to bring it to my attention in a way. And it honestly, at the time, it's always easy to say that. It felt like the most natural next thing to do.
In hindsight, how much of that do you think was actresses often fall in love with their directors, and you were having this very intimate creative experience of a chorus
very
line?
intimate creative experience, and I think that's where we both lived.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't want to sound too analyzed, although I am.
Yes, well, that's why I bring this up. I know you've got a lot of insight in
it.
Right.
Maybe I need a little more. But,
do you want to lie down?
But I have a few years left, so maybe there's a couple more years of analysis. But it's easy to say that, but at the time, we both lived in our work, and we loved in our work. And I think I would have done anything to make Michael happy, and if he said, "This will make me happy," I would have done it, because he needed, from where I was sitting, he deserved to be happy. He needed to be happy. This meant so much to him, his work, and I was privy enough to see what he went through, and he was not happy in his life.
But now, subsequently, he treated you very badly.
Well,
I mean, you tell us this in your book.
Yes.
Or that's at least to me a reader.
But it's all in, pardon me?
As a reader, I thought, he's treating her very badly. And then, of course,
it took me a long time.
You were giving a lot and not getting so much back.
It was hard for me. I frustrated him a lot, too, because, look, you know, I don't even know if couples therapy would have helped. I'm not sure, but
Well, and also he was a bisexual
yes,
man, which was.
but that wasn't the problem. That was
Yeah.
a fascinating. It probably was fundamentally, okay, but.
Well, you say in the book, though, the sex life was not,
Not
that wasn't
at
the problem.
all. Michael was, you know, people always fell in love with Michael. He was
Yeah.
a very seductive person and
Lethal charm was
very,
how someone I know
but
described
also
him.
I saw through that a little bit. I was his friend also. He confided in me for many years before that, and it was painful for both of us to cause each other so much personal pain. I mean, and I put myself right in there.
But how
too.
did you cause him pain?
I think by not going home at 6 o'clock. I think I was there. I wasn't. He wasn't paying me to be there. I was there, and he went, "Oh my God, she wants to be a wife.
Yeah,
she
right.
loves me. Oh my God, she loves me."
Right.
Oh,
And I didn't. And I listen. I don't want to paint this. It's too complicated in a way. But I was trying my best, and he was trying his best. It is, and if that means not a long time, then there was a lot of pain behind the desire to be, you know, I call it that part, if you don't have that resolved conflict between you and you, and it's that very personal, significant relationship, if you don't have that, and I had to learn that, then you cannot love somebody else. You can't give to them. You can't embrace them in all ways.
There are quite a few books about Michael Bennett, but I thought that your writing about him was really the best character study I've ever seen written about him. And if you can give us a sense of this combination of the charm, the intensity, but also, I mean, a very manipulative side. I mean, he must have been a chilling side to him as well, which you saw.
Well, it's like not trusting that someone will be there for you. You know, it's the need to control. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
The need to manipulate. I mean, Jerry Robbins was his idol.
Yeah.
He emulated
A great
him.
manipulator of human beings as well.
You know, and I'm from a different kind of, I'd rather see people get what they want with more loving, you know, instead of manipulating. Because finally it makes you feel unhappy. As an actor, I still say actress, I'm sorry. I know that's probably incorrect, but I like actress. As an actress, I want to be able to find my way. I want to be able to give that. I don't want someone to manipulate me into finding the role.
Yeah.
Or having to, you know what I mean? So,
But
so,
do you think
but sometimes you have to do it.
But do you think it's possible for someone like Jerry Robbins or Michael Bennett or even Bob Fosse to achieve what they achieve, to create these big shows without having that manipulative, tough, rather brutal quality underneath all the charm?
Well, I think, you know, that that's the training. Now there are laws against it, inequity, but thank God. But, you know, let me go down to a fundamental thing. Dancing is very hard.
Yeah.
My first dance class, I mean, was that there was a teacher with a stick, the stick hitting the floor on the time, and sometimes they would hit your ankle or your calf. I mean, not hard, but you would, you know, it was terrifying.
Right.
And that because dancing is like so difficult, and to strive for that perfection, and you're moving in an unnatural way, you're making your body, the muscles shape themselves, you know, it's painful. And you need that push from someone to keep you going because you want to give up on yourself until, you know, and that's the training. You know, if it's not, it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it right. So if you keep, if that reflects to dancers are being, it's like Tony Stevens reminded me that that actors ask why and dancers just do it.
Right.
That's such an interesting.
Dancers just do it.
After the Michael Bennett split up, you went into a terrible depression and came down with very, very crippling rheumatic arthritis. And to me, the most
and it was I called it the litany of loss. I mean, and it wasn't just poor Michael Bennett. It was I lost my father. It was a list of losses. I mean, starting with my own need to run away from myself. You know, it's like ironic, isn't it, that the dancer's body stops. It's like my body it manifested in that condition where I couldn't take another step, literally.
But you tell how you healed yourself, and I think that is such a wonderful part of your book, which I'd like you to touch on a little, because it's very uplifting.
Yes, thank you, Susan. It's why I wrote it, because when I found a way out, I just knew intuitively that drugs would be, you know, being a dancer all my life. I just knew that it would, you know, not be good, and it could be the end of me. So I had a great friend in Susan Slavin, who's a wonderful actress and teacher, and she took me to this doctor in Trenton, New Jersey, at 10 at night, because he only saw people from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. For their metabolism, as it turns out. And he put me on a yes and no list of food and behavior, and told me not to, you know, fuss. I mean, he was adorable. He was 95, and when I first met him, and he said essentially, in 3 weeks the pain will subside. And I had vitamin therapy too. He had a whole list, a yes and no list. In 3 weeks the pain will subside, and in 6 weeks you'll be able to walk standing up straight, and in 6 months you can do suitable exercise. And I said, but I'm a dancer. When will I be able to dance again? And he said, about a year. I just didn't know what to do with this, because I was really crippled. And he showed me all these letters that people had written him, saying that they had been cured, and they thanked him. And he said, that's what I want you to do. And I asked him how much he charged, and he said $18. I went, well, the vitamins were expensive. But I said, why 18? And he said, well, that's the sign of life in Hebrew. And he turned out, he said, I was, you know, he was a medical doctor. He said, I got tired of burying my patients. So he took this alternative, all the information he had in medical science, which is important. You know, I never, as you know, I never say anything against the medical profession, because I believe in it. But why not try, if you can change your system, change your metabolism, and eliminate a condition that is really causing you other, you know, symptoms, you know, why not? And
in addition to the physical breakdown of a dancer's life, you did not take Bob Fosse's advice for much of your life and save your money, because there's a rather harrowing section of this book where after the success of A Chorus Line, living in the Central Park penthouse with Michael Bennett, suddenly you're out of the kingdom.
Depths of the 90th floor.
You are, and you're, you know, careening around from one friend's couch to another. I mean, where you think, what have I done? How has this happened to me?
And like Ellen Barkin, no.
And how did it happen to you?
Well, no, I mean, that's what happened. That was a transition. That was only, that was about a year or so. But, well, it was a rude awakening, and depression, there's all of it, the cascading of all of this. It gave me a lot to work with, and I finally had to sit up and go, I'm not running anymore. I am not running. I'm going to really get to the bottom of this and find out who I am and what I want and what I want to do with my life, and that was an incredible journey. I mean, I started trying to figure Michael out, and that was an impossibility. As you know, I really loved Michael and tried to capture his human qualities, but I never say what was going on, you know, because I don't know. But it was, I had to start paying attention to me and becoming that independent woman, and devote my life to theater, what I've always wanted.
What was the first show, the first performance you did after all this dark period where you finally realized, I'm back, I can do it, and people want me to do it?
I came back in 1986, and that was such a personal victory, because I was dancing again, thanks to Bjork, who had brought me back to dancing, and I was on Broadway, and I was doing 8 shows a week.
You were back in the chorus line.
Yeah. And, you know, it was fantastic. I mean, who wrote this story, you know? It was happening, and I felt like now I could do anything. I was on the, and that's why I wrote the book, because when I talked about this in the New York Times, the response was so great that I felt, if not a mission, I felt a need to tell the story to help.
And after that, you didn't look back. I mean, there are lots of Broadway shows since then, and wonderful club acts, which I've seen a number of times around town, and they're just terrific. And you're going to London.
Yes,
And you're doing
to be Patty Andrews in Over Here.
Excellent. Well,
can you see it?
I can see it. Donna McKechnie, it's a really terrific book about a life in the theater, Time Steps. We wish you luck in London, and we hope to see you back on Broadway soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being our guest tonight.
Bye.